Shalawam. This is Hadassah Sayawan returning with part 3 of this amazing study called The End Times Prophetic Events of Yahawah, Our Final Jubilee. Part 3 is called 400 Years, the Fourth Generation, and the Eighth Day, and they are all connected to each other. So let's see how they are connected. And because this is a lengthy lesson, let's get started. I am led to discuss in greater detail the 400-year prophecy given to Abaraham, our forefather, about the fourth generation and also the eighth day. In my previous study in part 2, I glazed over these 3 items, but here I want to give them the credit that is due to them, as they are vitally important to know and understand what they mean and how they affect us today. Now, in part 2, I had a lot of different components about the Jubilee years or final Jubilee to address. And so I was not able to give these 3 items their due credit. And so I was led that night to go back and go into detail about the 400 generation and the eighth day, because we have to understand what they mean. We've been told by many Hebrew Israelite camp leaders about the 400 years that, according to history, we were taken in 1618 to be sold as slaves, and therefore 400 years from that point of time would be 2018. That date came by, never happened. We're still captives in foreign lands. And my question was, and I placed this question in part 2, did we get it wrong, or was the prophecy incorrect? Well, we know the word of the Most High is never incorrect. Neither are his prophecies. What will be incorrect will be our interpretation or understanding, teachings, doctrines, whatever you want to call them, based on our intellect. And I showed you in part 2 how Yahawah, one of the great prophets, depended on the Most High to give him skill in understanding. He prayed for skill and understanding, and it was the Most High who sent his angel to give him the skill and understanding about a prophecy that Jeremiah, who is Jeremiah, wrote in his book. So we cannot think that we can easily understand prophecy by just looking at a word, breaking down a word, looking at the history in the world. It is not that simple, because Yahawah has his own language. And I looked at that too. His prophetic language, even Hamashiach spoke in parables. That was his prophetic language. So when we look at prophecies, we cannot look at it in a nutshell. We cannot look at it and say, well, it means this, unless the Most High leads us to believe that. Like I've said before, some prophecies are twofold, some prophecies are threefold. But this prophecy, that was given to Abraham pertains to the end times, the last days. So we have to look at these end time prophecies through the lens of the Ruach HaKodesh. So therefore, we have to put aside this mindset that the 400 years has to do or have to do with us being set free to go and live however we want to live. It is not that correct. That is not the correct interpretation. Neither is it the correct understanding. Because it has nothing to do with us being able to travel wherever we want to go and do whatever we want to do. That's not freedom, because at the end of the day, we are under a regime. The whole world is under a regime. And until we are moved out from under this regime, we will not have freedom. And the only way that we will receive freedom is through Hamashiach himself. And we looked at that again in part 2. He is called freedom. But before I give away, because it's already written down, let me just go into the lesson and you will see what I'm talking about. We have to reset our minds to understanding this 400-year prophecy. And we can't view it according to how it was being taught, because those teachers that taught it were wrong. Were they not? Because we're still here. We're still a scattered people. We're still under this wicked regime that's controlling this entire world right now. So let's get started. We're going to look at the prophecy of Abaraham. We're going to look at Bara'ashayath, the book of Genesis, chapter 15, verse 13. And he said unto Abaraham, know of a surety that your seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them. So the whole idea is that we're strangers. We are strangers. We are sojourners right now in these lands. I had a discussion with a friend one time, and it was like a revelation that the Most High gave to me. And I really didn't understand that even though I was born on this island, I never felt connected to that land. Throughout my younger days, all I wanted to do was travel. And I believe I was looking for my land subconsciously. And one day, I would say about a year or so ago, the Most High dropped it into my spirit. The land that you're looking for is the land Yashraal. Not even the one that's there right now, because it is inhabited. But I'm looking for the true land, just like our forefather Abraham. He was traveling looking for a city whose foundation and maker is who? Allah. So I explained to this friend of mine, who claimed that he's awakened, that just because you were born in a country does not make it yours. Just because you were born in a land does not make it yours. I say we were brought to the islands as prisoners, as slaves. Therefore, the land is still the land of our captivity, even though we claim that we have independence from the slave masters. Yet, everything that we do came from them. Our worship, money, everything. All right? We were still connected to the slave masters in their country. And I said, What you call culture is not our culture. He couldn't believe me. He didn't understand me. He thought I was crazy. Yes, you were born on an island and you hear all these songs. This is my island, blah, 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 whatever the case may be. And you think that it is yours. It is not yours. It is a glorified prison. You're still a slave. As long as you're under that regime, this regime that's worldwide, we're all still slaves. And that's why the Most High has to come and bring an ending to this system so that his people can be set free once and for all. To live in their land once and for all. But no matter where you go on this earth, you are still subject to the regime. You can't get off the grid. I hear this and I used to think this way even recently. It's only now I realize no matter what you do and where you go, you're still in the grid. You can't get off the grid. You're still in the matrix. The only way you can get out is when you get into the land that is governed by the Most High. And that's not going to happen until the ending of the 400 years, which is not yet. He has to come and destroy the matrix to set this earth free. Let's carry on. And they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. And you shall go to your fathers in peace. You shall be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation they shall come here again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. I've gotten into a lot of this already. What I'm going to focus on are the highlighted areas. And also, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. We'll look at that later on. But right now we're going to look at, and they shall afflict them 400 years, but in the fourth generation they shall come here again. The 400-year prophecy is tied to the fourth generation in this prophecy. It is easy to misunderstand what they mean because of all that we have been taught and heard. But if you look carefully at these two statements, you will see what Yahawah was saying to Abaraham. Goes a lot deeper, folks. A lot deeper. And they shall afflict them 400 years. Yes, that is the time frame. But in the fourth generation, they shall come here again. Who is he speaking about? The fourth generation of whom? Of Yashrael, all 12 tribes, not just the southern kingdom. Yes, the fourth generation is the equivalent of 400 years. But Yahawah was speaking something more important to Abraham and to us today. We, the southern kingdom, were scattered to the four corners of the earth almost 400 years ago. This 400-year prophecy does not only pertain to us, but it pertains to the regathering of all the 12 tribes, starting with the southern kingdom first and then the northern kingdom. When the southern kingdom is taken up in the chariots, it will not be 400 years quite. Remember, it will not be quite. It's the entire 12 tribes. But it will be the fourth generation taken. Because the generation has to do with people and not time. So when we hear about the fourth generation, automatically people are thinking the 400 years. But he's speaking about the people. The fourth generation of people. The northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. And there's a reason why he chose the fourth generation. You see, our generation today is the fourth generation, but it is not 400 years yet where we will receive our freedom. Our freedom comes when we are dwelling safely in our land, Yashraal, as one kingdom. All 12 tribes as one kingdom, not two kingdoms anymore. The 12 tribes of Yashraal united together with the Prince of Peace, who is our freedom, who is Hamashiach, who will be reigning on the earth. And this will be the completion of the 400-year prophecy. Why was Yahawah stating the fourth generation? Because he knew that, like our forefathers in Matzarayam, our brethren, all 12 tribes, would intermingle with other nations. Some forcibly through rape during slavery, and others through intermarriage. And I know that has happened because even in my genealogy, my great-great-grandmother was raped. She was a slave. And her daughter, which would be my great-grandmother, was mixed. But she married a Negro. But her children still looked mixed. And they in turn married Negroes. So I'm the fourth generation of my great-great-grandmother who was intermingled forcibly because she was raped. And the slave masters used to do that to multiply the hands on their plantations. But that's a story for another time. We're focusing here on this because it's a pretty lengthy study. The Father knew that this was going to happen. That's why he said the fourth generation. So let's read on. It is for this reason that at the fourth generation, this iniquity would be rolled back as long as we remained married within our lineage for the entire period of time. 4 generations of marrying within our lineage, in other words. He knew because we were going to be scattered. He knew our women were going to be raped. So he gave Abraham a time and a generation, because the fourth generation rolls back that iniquity as long as we stay within our lineage. As long as we remain mingled with our brethren. And this is the mistake that a lot of our brethren are making today. Now, this is the reason why the Most High is only going to regather a remnant. Because there are a lot of our people who love other nations. And they've even incorporated other nations as part of the 12 tribes. Yet they look nothing like us. And the reason why they do that is because they're looking for permission or a license to have women outside of our lineage. And it's the same thing with males and females. And they go and they marry these people and think it's okay. But you've just lost your inheritance. As long as you stay married to that person, you have lost your inheritance. And your children are considered Gentiles. And they will remain Gentiles until the 4th generation, as long as they are married back into the lineage. But if you're already married, or if you are a product of an intermarriage, I'm sorry to say this. You don't qualify. You do not qualify. You are a Gentile. But the awakened ones that are part of these camps, that are the leaders in these camps, will lead other people to think otherwise. Hey, as long as your mother or your father is from one of the 12 tribes, you made it. Some people go as far as to go and do blood tests to make sure, like, hey, I have the right haplogroup. But remember, Abaraham had many sons, but only one was chosen. Let's go on. Now, this is going to be a very difficult pill for people to swallow, a very difficult lesson to adhere to. Because Yashraal is not all inclusive, not even within our people. Because even if you are the 4th generation, but you're not walking in the commandments of the Most High, you're not going to make it into the kingdom. You're not going anywhere. Just look at what our forefathers went through. What made the Most High angry with them to cause them to scatter so many times throughout history. And look at us today and tell me if we're not repeating the very same mistakes that our forefathers are making. He told them not to intermarry. But they still went ahead and married the Moabites and the Ammonites. And what happened? Did he not kill them? And their children? The 4th generation offspring of the southern kingdom will be taken, and the 4th generation of the northern kingdom will be in the second exodus into the wilderness. So not everyone is going to be drawn into the exodus or taken in the chariots. Only the 4th generation. That's why the Most High told Abraham about the 4th generation. Let's look at that again. Verse 16 of Genesis 15. But in the 4th generation. He said that specifically to let us know it is the 4th generation of Yashraal that will come to their land of Yashraal again. There are no exceptions to this law, to this command, to this prophecy. There's no exception. As much as you would like to feel included, if you're 2nd generation, biracial, 3rd generation, I'm sorry to let you know this, you're still a Gentile. Bara'ashayaf, Genesis chapter 50, verse 22. And Yahawah dwelt in Matzarayim, he and his father's house. And Yahawah, I'm talking of Joseph, lived 110 years. And Yahawah saw Abarahams, who's Ephraim, children of the 3rd generation, the children also of Machayar, who is Mahir, the son of Manasseh, were brought up upon Yahawah's knees. Yahawah was a prophet. And he instructed his 2 boys to marry into their brethren. That's why they have they're part of the lineage of the 12 tribes through Yahawah. Yes, he married an Egyptian, but he raised his sons to be Yashraal. And he made sure that they married into their lineage. That's why when they left Matzarayim, they left with them. And they have a portion of the inheritance granted to Yashraal. We know that Yahawah lived in Matzarayim and married a woman of Matzarayim. This is Egypt. But Yahawah raised his children as Yashraal. His sons married their kin, and Yahawah was able to see his children's children to the third generation before he died. The children of Yashraal left Matzarayim in the fourth generation in their exodus into the wilderness. It is for this reason why Yahawah proclaimed their redemption from this iniquity on a number of occasions. This proclamation of the third and fourth generation for our forefathers leaving Matzarayim is still somewhat applicable to us today, but only with the fourth generation of Yashraal this time around, because he said it, which will qualify them to enter into the kingdom of heaven. It was the third and fourth generation for our forefathers, but for us today, it's only the fourth generation. And even with the third and fourth generation for our forefathers, it was for a particular intermarriage, who they married. In other words, it was Edomite and what was the second one? Edomite and Matzarayim, Egyptians. That they were granted that they could rejoin and be called part of Yashraal again up to the third generation. All right? At the third generation, not up to, at the third generation. Shamawath, Exodus chapter 12, verse 20. Sorry, let me finish I didn't finish my word here. This is the refinement of the 12 tribes of Yashraal that is according to his word. Now, this is if they're obedient to him. That's as long as we're obedient and walking in the straight and narrow path, because that's important. It makes no difference if you have the bloodline of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, but if you're disobedient, you're still a Gentile. You're still a pagan worshiper. So it's all together. You have to be obedient to him, and you also have to have the bloodline. Exodus chapter 12, verse 20. Now the sojourning of Habanai Yashraal, the children of Yashraal, who dwelt in Matzarayim, was what? 430 years. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even on the selfsame day, it came to pass that all the host of Yahawah, that will be the 12 tribes of Yahawah, went out from the land of Matzarayim. So this is the fourth generation that they came out. Okay, let's look at the book of Yashar. They call it Jasher, but it's called Yashar, meaning upright, the book of the upright. Chapter 80, verse 37. At that time, many of the people of Yashraal died who had rebelled against Yahawah and who would not listen to Masha and Ahawaran, who's Aaron, and believed not in them that Elohim had sent them, and who had said, we will not go forth from Matzarayim because we'll perish with hunger in a desolate wilderness. There were those who would not listen to the voice of Masha. Yahawah plagued them in the 3 days of darkness, and Yashraal buried them in those days without Matzarayim knowing of them or rejoicing over them. So even after it was time to leave the land of their captivity, where they were greatly persecuted, where they were crying out for help, and the Most High said, yeah, okay, this is what we're going to do. And they're like, nope, we're not going anywhere, because can you furnish a table in the wilderness? Can you provide us fish pots and garlic and onions and leeks in the wilderness? These are rebels, and these rebels were worse than even the rebels that left. What did the Most High do to them? He destroyed them. Right there. Killed them off. No, we're not going. All those ones, killed them off. I wouldn't be surprised if they were like a second generation. Right? Or mixed multitude. I wouldn't be surprised if that was, those people. People that were influenced by their non-Yashraal wife or husband. Because, believe it or not, people are influenced by the person that they love. And that's why he said, don't intermarry, because you're going to want to do what your husband, if you're a wife, if you're a woman, you're going to want to do what your husband is telling you to do. And the other way around too, because you love them. You might think, I can hang in there and be Yashraal. My husband could be a Christian. He's not that far off, or she's not that far off. But they worship pagan idols. And they will have an influence on you. And if it doesn't work out, then it brings pressure on the marriage. And because you love the person, now you're in a situation where you're going to have to put this person above the Most High. In order to keep the peace and keep the love and keep everything flowing the way how you want it to go. People have this mindset of marriage where they think that they're living in a fairy tale. But if you go and you marry these other people, it's not a fairy tale, it's a nightmare. Because they're going to draw you away from Him. They're going to want you to come and go to church with me. And then you got to call on this J name and the L word and the G. And where does it end? And then suddenly you'll have the elders and the pastors trying to talk to you and trying to convince you that, hey, it can work both ways, because after all, we're serving the same God, aren't we? I mean, for a fact we're not. The Christians, they worship pagan gods. They're pagans. And you cannot make a person change just for you. And even if they say they want to change for you, they're not going to be happy with that change, because they didn't do it out of their love for the Most High. They did it for you. And then they're going to start resenting you. And that's where all the pressures and the problems come into marriage. But if you're married to a person who are on the same page as you are when it comes to the Most High, then where's the pressure going to come from? Yes, you're going to have your normal thing, but at least together, you're not battling spirits against spirits. Evil spirits against the Spirit of the Most High. And not that the evil spirits will dominate or can control the Spirit of the Most High, the Ruach HaKodesh. But if you don't have a lot of Him in you, how are you going to be able to defeat the evil forces? And that's why there's a lot of divorces. A lot of divorces, even amongst our people. It's better to be single, folks, and be married in the new kingdom. We'll be perfect. You will have a perfect marriage. If you're not married yet, wait. Trust me. Trust me on this word. You want to be married in a place where there's no evil, where there's no wickedness, where the Spirit of the Most High, the Son of the Most High, and Yahawah is reigning on the earth. There will be a time for marriage again in the 1,000 years that He will be here. Wait. All right, let's move on. These brethren that did not want to leave Mount Sarayan were rebellious at heart, worse than those who fell in the wilderness. Yahawah was not intending to leave any of his people in Mitzrayim. He wanted them all to leave. Those that refused died instantly in that land. When it was time for them to leave, he wanted them out and dealt with them accordingly. It will be the same for the northern kingdom when it's time for them to leave their countries where they're sojourning. Yahawah will not leave anyone behind, and those who refuse to go will die instantly in whatever lands they're living in. This is not going to happen for the southern kingdom. The southern kingdom, like I've said before, and I've done videos on the chariots of Yasha'al and the second exodus into the wilderness, and it explains in greater detail what is going to happen to both groups of people. All right? But the southern kingdom, either you're ready to go up or you're not. If you don't go up, you're going to be trapped here on this earth, and you're going to have to go through some horrible times on this earth. Horrible, horrible times. Ezekiel chapter 39, verse 25. And I know a lot of people use these verses, that the Most High is bringing out everybody. Everyone is coming out. He's leaving none behind. But he's bringing them out to destroy them in the wilderness. And that pertains only to the northern kingdom. Who doesn't come, he's going to destroy them there in the land. In their lands, wherever they are. Well, we know that they're in Africa. All right. Therefore, thus said Yahawah al-Hayam, now will I bring again the captivity of Yaakov and have mercy upon the whole house of Yasha'al. And that is the northern kingdom. The whole house of Yasha'al is not speaking about the 12 tribes. This is the northern kingdom. And will be jealous for my holy name. After that, they have borne their shame and all their trespasses, whereby they have trespassed against me, when they dwelt safely in their land, and none made them afraid. When I have brought them again from the people, and gathered them out of their enemies' lands, and am sanctified in them in the sight of many nations. Everyone is going to see them when they leave on their second exodus out of their lands. But no one's going to be able to do anything about it. No one's not going to be able to touch them. Verse 28. Then shall they know that I am Yahawah their al-Hayam, who caused them to be led into captivity among the heathen. But I have gathered them in unto their own land, and have left none of them anymore there. So all of us are coming out. Sorry, all of them, because I am of the southern kingdom. All of those that are coming out from Africa, maybe scattered in few other places, they're coming out, all of them. Who will not leave will be killed. But everyone is coming out. Verse 29. Neither will I hide my face anymore from them, for I have poured out my ruach upon the house of Yasha'al, said Yahawah al-Hayam. He's going to pour out his spirit upon them. And not all of them either, because they're going to have a lot of rebels amongst them. Now, gleaning from the book of Yashar, we know why none of the northern kingdom will be left in the lands of their enemies. Those who refuse to leave will perish. This is the second exodus that many of our brethren in the southern kingdom is waiting for. But this exodus is not meant for us, only for the northern tribes. And I explained the reason why is because we received the gospel, the good news, from Hamashiach himself. We were the last to scatter, and we will be the first to be regathered. Remember, the last shall be first, and the first shall be last. The northern kingdom were the first to leave, and they will be the last to be regathered. They will be leaving in the sight of all nations. This is the northern kingdom. And throughout their journey into the land of Yasha'al, the rebels will be purged out. Only the redeemed righteous will enter the land of Yasha'al. The southern kingdom, on the other hand, will soon be taken up in chariots, but only the righteous remnant. The rebels left behind will have to endure the judgments that will be unleashed upon this earth. Their only other option is to die in righteousness. Knowing and understanding these precepts of how the two kingdoms will be regathered and why will lead you to understand who will be regathered. Not everyone that call themselves Yasha'al will be regathered. There are kingdom principles involved in the selection of who will be chosen. That is why the chosen is called the elect. Not everyone is chosen, because he already gave you the specification, the fourth generation of those who love me and obey my commandments. So even if you're the fourth generation and you do not obey his commandments, you're not chosen. Many people today are confused concerning this precept of the fourth generation, both Gentiles and the southern kingdom of Yahshua. Even our brethren, they're confused. Many of their leaders are teaching destructive heresies. Itching ears want to hear what they want to hear, and these teachers are willing to supply the needs of these itching ears. There are people proclaiming themselves as our brethren and teaching online who are of mixed descent, meaning one of their parents is not of Yashua. They, the offspring, are the first generation, making them Gentiles. It does not matter your blood type or haplogroup. It all has to do with the word of Allah Hayam, and he is very clear about intermarriage and their children. There's a very good reason why Yahawah has laws in place and prophecies so that we cannot say that we did not know. The question is, did you understand within the context of the scripture what Yahawah is speaking about? I will go this far to say that there are many mixed people who are misleading the unlearned of our people. They're the ones who lack true wisdom and understanding of Yahawah's words. That's why they have to go and compile all these different teachings from all these different places. And they do a lot of, creative animation to attract people to their teachings. And many people are attracted because of the entertainment aspect of these online teachers. Their background music, all these different crazy things they put together. And people are like, yeah. I really like, it's so cool how he did this and how she did that. But that's only to entertain you and to distract you at the same time. They're teaching lies and false doctrines even to the point of denying Hamashiach as well. And I know I've heard a couple of them speaking against Hamashiach. And when you look at them, they're clearly mixed. And that's why I could understand now why the Most High did not give them his Ruach HaKodesh to draw them back to the light. Because right now they're walking in darkness. And they're teaching people the same darkness. Now I understand why the Most High is very specific about who he speaks to, who he teaches. Because not everyone that calls themselves Yasha'al, they are not Yasha'al. They're Gentiles. Also, I will say this, a mixed person can look a lot like us if their parentage is African or from a darker skinned people. There are a lot of people that look like us. Some Indians look like us. Africans, they all look like us because they're all dark. Just because their coloring is like us does not make them Negro. That is why Yahawah has chosen who will be called his people. And it has everything to do with this precept about marrying other nations and the generations that come as a result. Has everything to do with that, and also who you worship, who you follow, if you walk in his commandments or not. Like I said before, it doesn't matter. Even if you are the authentic seed, but you're disobedient, you're not going to make it. It was always the mixed multitudes and the intermarriages that have led us astray from worshiping Yahawah throughout our history as a people. And it is the same even today. We have not learned our lesson, obviously. Bamadabar, the book of Numbers, chapter 11, verse 1 to 10. And when the people complained, it displeased Yahawah. Now they're in the desert, they're in the wilderness. And you know they complain either for food or they complain about water. And Yahawah heard it, and his anger was kindled, and the fire of Yahawah burnt among them, and consumed them that were in the uttermost part of the camp. And the people cried unto Masha, and when Masha prayed unto Yahawah, the fire was quenched. Do you know how many times the Most High destroyed our people in the wilderness? Because of their wickedness. Verse 3, and he called the name of the place Tabaorah, means burning, because the fire of Yahawah burnt among them. He purged them, purged out the rebels with fire. And the mixed multitude, verse 4, that was among them fell a-lusting. So when they came out as mixed people. Mixed either in marriage and children. And the children of Yashrael also wept again and said, who shall give us flesh to eat? We remember the fish which we did eat in Matzarayim freely, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There's nothing at all besides this manna before our eyes. This is what they called manna. And they wouldn't have said it with joy and gratitude. They were disgusted by it because they said it was light bread. They're not used to light bread. They want something to stick to their ribs. The heavy bread that they used to eat in Matzarayim, that's what they wanted. Everything that they craved and lusted for were in Matzarayim, even though that was the place of their bondage and persecution. But it didn't matter about the persecution as long as they got the food. So we see the spirits at work here is the spirit of lust. And this is the reason why the Most High got so angry with our people in the wilderness. But now, verse 7, and the manna was as coriander seed, and the color thereof as the color of bdellium. And the people went about and gathered it, and found it in mills, or beat it in a mortar, and baked it in pans, and made cakes of it, and the taste of it was as the taste of fresh oil. Do you know that manna that came from heaven, the angel bread, had everything they need, everything that their bodies needed? The nutrients, everything. It was a highly nutritious bread. It was light, but it was bread, and it was highly nutritious. It came from heaven. It didn't come from the earth. So it was pure and holy. This is what the angels eat in heaven. But were they grateful for this? No, they were not. They wanted the stuff of Matzarayim, the place of bondage. They were ungrateful, unthankful, lustful. And this is how our people are today. As much as we're being persecuted in the lands of our captivity, we still want to hang in here and make a life for ourselves and get a mortgage and get a career and send our kids to college and let them pollute our children. We don't want the things of the Most High. We want what the other nations have and what they're doing. We want to do what they're doing. That's always been the problem with our people, and that's why the Father is going to sift us like wheat. And I've said this before, he does not need a multitude. He just needs a remnant, and he can cause the remnant to multiply. 70 of our brethren went into Matzarayim. And how many left? Millions. After 4 generations. And no matter how much the Egyptians were trying to kill off our sorry, I'm tongue-tied. Kill off our babies. They're trying to destroy the boys. They tried. But the women got smart. Some of them used to go in the fields and give birth and leave the babies there. And the Most High protected the babies until they got of age, and then they would go send them home. He had angels taking care of our baby boys. And Matzarayim couldn't figure it out. But the earth helped our babies, helped us as a people. Otherwise, by now, we should have been wiped out. But he can't wipe us out because we are a holy seed. And we're a chosen people. And that's why the nations around us either want to destroy us or enslave us and take away what we have. And they figure, well, if we can't beat them, let's join them and let's marry them and infiltrate them that way. And that is the most successful way of infiltrating us and destroying us at the same time. It's unbelievable. We got to get it in our heads. No other nation likes us. I don't care how much that woman tells you, I love you, you're the best thing that has ever happened to me, or that man says this to you. They don't love you. How can they know love if they don't know the Most High? He is love. He is true love. Anyone that come and tell you from another nation that they love you, they're liars, because they do not know the love of the Most High. I don't care what they sacrifice for you. I don't care. They can't love you the way the Most High loves you. And they can't love you the way how a brethren who serves the Most High can love you. Absolutely not. These pagan people, these nations, they cannot love you the way how you need to be loved and how you want to be loved. And that's why a lot of you are in the marriage, but you're not happy. You're not happy, but you're stuck because you have children now and you don't know where else to go and what to do. So you're hanging in there because your life is somewhat comfortable. So you're thinking, okay, I just need to hang in here. But that's it. That's your inheritance right there. Just to let you know. And when the dew, verse 9, fell upon the camp in the night, the manna fell upon it. Can you imagine how awesome this manna is? Dew is water. And the manna would sit upon the water. It didn't get mushy because they had to grind it in a mortar. A mortar is this granite bowl that they pound. They will pound it into a flour. And then they'll make it into a batter and then fry it. And make bread with it. Either fry it or bake it. But this manna remained crispy. Even though it sat on the dew. Because it's holy seed. Holy bread. Then Mashal heard the people weep throughout their families, every man at the door of his tent, and the anger of Yahawah was kindled greatly. Mashal also was displeased. And this is our people over and over again. Never satisfied with what the Most High gives to us. What He has promised us. We always want what the other people are doing or what they have, even though what they have and what they're doing is rotten to the core. We don't mind. It looks like fun. It looks good. We want it. But everything that glistens is not gold. Yahawah, which is the book of Joshua, chapter 23, verse 11. Take heed therefore unto yourselves that you love Yahawah Allah Hayakam. Now this is Joshua speaking. This is him now. He's getting ready to die. And he's speaking to the 12 tribes. All right. Verse 12. Else if you do in any wise go back and cleave unto the remnant of these nations, even these that remain among you, and shall make marriages with them and go in unto them, and they unto you. Meaning that your sons go and marry these daughters of these other nations, or the daughters of Yashua go and marry the men of these nations. So when he's talking about go in unto them, meaning having sexual relations, the Yashua men with their women, or the Yashua women with their men. Okay? 13. Know for a certainty that Yahawah Allah Hayakam, that is your Allah Hayam, will no more drive out these nations from before you. But they shall be snares and traps unto you, and scourges in your sides, and thorns in your eyes, until you've perished from off this good land which Yahawah Allah Hayakam has given you. What the Most High did for these ones that came and took the land, the second generation that came out of the wilderness, he said, I will not remove all of these giants, all of these people, your enemies, from off this land. I will drive them out gradually. Otherwise, the land can become bombarded with wild animals and whatever else, but I will slowly drive them out. I will be the one to do it. You just need to remain worshiping me and marrying within your people. But did they do that? No, they did not. They intermarried with these other nations that were an abomination before the eyes of the Most High. And that's why the Most High, he did not drive them all out. He left them. And they became a snare, a big problem to them. And this is what happens when we disobey the commandments of the Most High. And I'm not talking only of the 10 commandments. I'm talking about the word that he gives to us to preserve us to be his people, his holy people. When a holy person goes and marries someone who is defiled before him, what do you think that is going to do to you? It is going to make you defile before him. You can have a pure glass of water, and you put a grain of sand in it, the water now is no longer pure. So you go and marry someone who is pagan, you are no longer holy before the Most High. How can you be? You sleep with that person. You have intercourse with them. How can you maintain your holiness? And that's why you have problems. All kinds of problems. Health problems, money problems, marriage problems, problems with your children. You have problems all the way around because you've disobeyed the Most High. 1 Malachayam, which is the first book of Kings, chapter 11, verse 1. But King Shalawam, who is Solomon, loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, that's Pharaoh, that's Egyptian. Women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, of the nations concerning which Yahawah said unto the children of Yashrael, you shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you. For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Shalawam clave unto these in love. Now you see that the wisest man that ever lived and that has ever lived on this earth turned out to be not so wise after all. He went and married all these strange women. because he had an issue with lust. It is lust. And that's why there are some of our brethren out there talking about multiple marriages. And look what multiple marriage has done to this man. We don't know if he made it into the kingdom. He's dead now, but we don't know if his name was blotted out of the Lamb's book of life. Let's read on and see what happened to him. Verse 30. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, 1,000 women. And some men will look at that and think, wow, I would like to be Shalawam. That's lust. And his wives turned away his heart. This is exactly what the Most High warned our people about. Verse 4, for it came to pass when Shalawam was old that his wives turned away his heart after other gods. Now, does that sound like Shalawam made it into the kingdom? He was old and he should be wiser. But he was not. He turned even more foolish. And his heart was not perfect with Yahawah, Alahayam, his Alahayam, as was the heart of Dawud, his father. Yes, Dawud made a lot of mistakes, but he loved the Most High. He established the worship in the city of Yahawah. Verse 5, for Shalawam went after Ashtoreth, who is Ishtar of Assyria. These same gods, they have different names, but they're the same gods from different nations. So Ashtoreth is Ishtar of Assyria, Astarte of the Greeks and Romans, Mary of the Roman Catholic Church, and Eve. So stop calling the wife of Yahweh who bore Yahawah. Don't call her Mary. That's a goddess. Her name is Maryam. And Eve is the same goddess, Ashtoreth, because Adam did not marry Eve, he married Yahawah. Eve is the name of Ashtoreth, another name of Ashtoreth. That's why I said you got to know that the Bible has been contaminated. But you cannot throw out the baby with the bathwater, because they want us to do that. But we need the Ruach HaKodesh to give us knowledge, to give us skill and understanding when it comes to his word, to know what to chew and what to spit. And when it comes to Mary and Eve, you spit those names out. The goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, also known as Molech, the abomination of the Ammonites. Verse 6, and Shalawam did evil in the sight of Yahawah in his old age, and went not fully after Yahawah, as did Dawud his father. Then did Shalawam build a high place of Chemosh, which is Baal Peor, Baal Zebub, who is also Mars, and Saturn, the cube. Anytime you see a cube, it is Saturn. The worship of Chemosh, the abomination of Moab. Chemosh is the abomination of Moab, in the hill that is before Yahawah. And for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And likewise did he for all his strange wives, who burnt incense and sacrificed unto their gods. What do you think they sacrificed? They sacrificed babies. Moloch and the other one, Moloch and Milcom. They sacrificed babies. I wouldn't be surprised if they did it for Ashtoreth. In fact, for all of them. But part of their sacrifices is offering up their babies. Burn them in fire. And Shalawam would have seen this and known this, and he helped them to build the altars. So my question is, did he make it into the kingdom after all of this? And this is the reason why the father said, do not intermarry with these people. Stay within your own lineage. Yes, I know there are people, our men folk and our women folk, they're not perfect. But if the Most High has a hand on their life, you let him take care of them. You can't change anybody. You can't even change yourself. But if you want to play it safe, stay single. Stay single. Let the Most High work the kinks out of our lives. And whoever is left, and you're one of them, then you know you're going to have a wholesome brother to marry or a wholesome woman to marry because she made it through. Why would you want to marry in this day and age? Why would you want to bring children in this wicked world? All right, look at what they're teaching our teaching the children, not our children, the children in the schools today. You got the alphabet rainbow people teaching our children a lot of garbage. They don't teach them the alphabet anymore and how to count and add and multiply. They don't teach that anymore. Bring a lot of filthy pornographic materials for our babies. You send them to school, you go to work, and your children come home and they're filled with a lot of filthiness. And you wonder why your child or your children are acting up and all these different problems you're having with them. But you're too busy building a kingdom here in this wicked world. You want to live like the Gentiles do. Instead of looking ahead to the true kingdom of Yahawah. No, you want to stay in this one. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Verse 9, and Yahawah was angry with Shalawam because his heart was turned from Yahawah Elohim of Yashraal, who had appeared unto him twice. So the Most High was warning him. He warned him twice. Did he listen? Verse 10, and had commanded him concerning this thing that he should not go after other gods. But he kept not that which Yahawah commanded. Therefore Yahawah said unto Shalawam, for as much as this is done of you, and you have not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded you, I will surely rend the kingdom from you, and will give it to your servant. Notwithstanding, in your days, I will not do it for Dawad your father's sake, but I will rend it out of the hand of your son. Howbeit, I will not rend away all the kingdom, but will give one tribe to your son for Dawad's sake and for Yerushalayim's sake, which I have chosen. And that's when the kingdom of Yashraal was divided into 10 tribes, or I would rather say 9.5 tribes, because the tribe of Lawai, who is Levi, was divided in two. It wasn't divided. One half went with the northern kingdom, the other half went with the southern kingdom. So 2.5 for the southern kingdom, 9.5 for the northern kingdom. Intermarrying into other nations has always been the downfall of Yashraal, and we were warned not to do it, as it will inevitably affect our relationship with Elohim. It will break our covenant with him due to disobedience, and we will naturally be led astray to pagan practices which are abhorred by him. He hates it. That's why the first commandment, do not worship other gods. Do not bow down to them or worship them, or make sacrifices to them. You say, I am a jealous Elohim. The southern kingdom were taken as slaves, and many of the women were raped, producing mixed children. Thankfully, these children married within their lineages for the next 4 generations, rolling back this iniquity from them. However, there are still some of our brethren who have married into other nations, and their children are either first or second or even third generation non-Yashraal. These children will fall short of the required time stated by Yahawah. They have to be the 4th generation to receive the promises due to the 12 tribes of Yashraal, and the southern kingdom's regathering is imminent. So what will happen to those who do not qualify? They will have to remain and go through the judgments like the other Gentile nations. If they endure to the end, even if they die, their names will be in the Lamb's book of life and receive eternal life. Yet their portion will always be with the Gentiles. They're not us, who will serve us as they are Gentiles and not Yashraal. This may be a very, very bitter pill for some people to swallow, as we are led to believe that making it into the kingdom depends solely on one parent, either mother or father. And it does not matter if your other parent is Yashraal or not. As long as you got a drop of Yashraal, a drop of blood of Yashraal in you, that's all you need. But this is a lie. Some believe that the bloodline comes through the father and that is sufficient to grant that person Yashraal status. But this is very far from the truth according to the commandments of Yahawah, of Elohim. Even during the time of our forefathers, they were forewarned about intermarriages and received the right of Yashraal to enter into the congregation of the 12 tribes. Although the scripture below state the third and fourth generation, that was dependent on the nation that Yashraal married, and it pertained to our forefathers who were leaving Matzorayim. However, Elohim was very clear about his prophecy when he spoke to Abaraham, stating the fourth generation, a future generation that he would regather. And mind you, the third and fourth generation was also pertaining to even after they left Matzorayim as they live in the land. That a person would not receive the right of Yashraal to enter into their congregation as long as they are the third or fourth generation. They will always be called a Gentile, a foreigner, or a stranger. That was the law back then. But the law now is only fourth generation. Okay. Shalawam, Exodus chapter 20, verse 3. So now we're going to go into the third and fourth generation scriptures. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make unto you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down yourself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahawah Elohim, am a jealous Elohim. Here we have it, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Visiting, meaning he is remembering the iniquity when they broke my commandment. The fathers that broke his commandment, and this is pertaining to mothers too, women too, that break his commandments. And this iniquity had fallen upon their children up to the third and fourth generation because of them that hate me. Why did they break the commandments? Because they hated him and they disobeyed him. How did they disobey him? By intermarrying and having children that are not of the true lineage of Yashraal. That's why he said, visiting, remembering the iniquity of the fathers upon the children. So it's something that the fathers did and it fell upon the children, and that would be intermarriage, because he's now talking about the third and fourth generation. Verse 6, and showing mercy unto the thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. So even if you pass, you make it to the third or fourth generation, you still have to keep his commandments because you love him. But a lot of times, children tend to follow the pattern of their parents. So if your father or your mother intermarried, the children tend to want to go towards that direction to intermarry as well. So it makes a bad situation worse. I've seen it happening. You see, a lot of our people, Yashraal, We've been told that we are barbarians. All we are good for is slavery, servitude, be servants, right? To the white man. That's all we're good for. And we've been brainwashed to think that this is who we are. And we've been brainwashed like this for generations. So much so that some people despise their skin color. They despise their hair. That's why they go and they get these weaves, these wigs, put chemicals in their hair. I was there. I was down that path. But I didn't know any better. I was a Gentile. But once the Father awakened me, he said, what's wrong with your hair? That you need to put chemicals in your hair. And I stopped. 2012, I stopped. But a lot of our people do not like their skin color. So they go and marry people of different nationalities because they want to heighten and lighten their skin color through their children, because they think that they can have a chance to make it into this world, make it in this world when it comes to business and having a life, so to speak. And a lot of them are proud of the fact that they marry a Caucasian, a white man or a white woman. I watched this video one time of this man who made it as a coach for this big team. Can't remember, basketball, soccer, I don't know. But he made it as a coach. And he attributed his success to his white wife. That's what he said. I only became successful because my wife is white. And he said it proudly, as if it was like a badge of honor. And I was so grossed out by it. He thought that his success came because he was married to a white woman. And I heard this other couple one time, this brother with his white woman, and he's talking about, oh yeah, I want to have babies with her because our babies will, they'll be pretty babies. So if you were married to a Negro woman, you're thinking that darker skin isn't pretty. But you want the lighter color skin. Because you're being brainwashed into thinking that that's pretty. Straight hair, blonde, blue eyes, green eyes, whatever the case may be, that's pretty. And in the meantime, these same people with the blonde hair, blue eyes and whatnot, they want to be like us. They go and spend hours in the sun. They turn into bacon. Their skin start to look like leather, but that's okay. They still keep doing it because they have a goal. They want to look like us. They want to get that nice, dark, smooth complexion. And it will never happen. But that's when you're brainwashed and you're foolish. Because you don't know the truth about yourself. And so you go off and you do the things that you're not supposed to do. And then your children go ahead and do the same things that you're doing. And pretty soon you have completely whited out your lineage. Now, I've seen it happening. I've seen it happening. When you look at the children, you can even tell that their grandparents were Negroes. Okay, let's move on. And so that's why the father, third, fourth generation of them who love me has to be the third or fourth generation. Shalawam, Exodus chapter 34, verse 5. And Yahawah descended in the cloud and stood with him there. And this is when Masha asks the Most High, show me your glory. And proclaimed the name of Yahawah. And Yahawah passed by before him and proclaimed, Yahawah Alahayam, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, And that will by no means clear the guilty. Even though he's forgiven us, our guilt is not rolled away until what? The third or fourth generation. Visiting, remembering the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and upon the children's children unto the third and to the fourth generation. So he's not going to clear our guilt until the third and fourth generation. This is according to the word. This is not me saying this. So don't get upset with me. Verse 8, and Masha made haste and bowed his head toward the earth and worshipped. And he said, if now I have found grace in your sight, O Yahawah, let my Yahawah, I pray you, go among us. For it is a stiff-necked people, and pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us for your inheritance. And even though the Most High have repeatedly spoken to our people, they still went and married the Moabites and the Ammonites. What a bunch of stiff-necked people we are. Bamadabar, the book of Numbers, chapter 14, verse 13. And Masha said unto Yahawah, then Matzarayim shall hear it, for you brought up this people in your might from among them. And they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land, for they have heard that you, Yahawah, are among this people, that you, Yahawah, is seen face to face, and that your cloud stands over them, and that you go before them by daytime in a pillar of a cloud and in a pillar of fire by night. So it was clear to all the nations around Yashrael that the Most High was protecting them. He was a cloud over them, and he was a pillar of cloud for them, whether daytime or nighttime. The only people that did not see this were the same Yashrael. They couldn't see this. They couldn't see the favor that they had with Yahawah. Verse 15, now if you shall kill all these people as one man, then the nations which have heard the fame of you will speak, saying, because Yahawah was not able to bring this people into the land which he swore unto them, therefore he has slain them in the wilderness. So he is making intercession for the children of Yashrael because of their wickedness. The Most High wanted to strike them all down, but Masha said, but if you do this, then the nation will say, well, you brought them out in order to destroy them in the wilderness. And we know that happened when Masha came down from the mountain with the 2 tablets, and they were down below having orgies and all kind of celebrations around this golden calf, offering sacrifices to this golden calf. Verse 17, and now I beseech you, let the power of my Yahawah be great, according as you have spoken, saying, Yahawah is long-suffering, so he's reminding him of what he said. Yahawah is long-suffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty. He doesn't clear our guilt. The guilt is there until the time is past. We ask for forgiveness, but we still have to go through the consequences of our actions. So that's what he meant by saying not clearing, by no means clearing the guilty. You're guilty, but you're forgiven. And you have to bear the consequences of your actions. And after you've borne your consequences, now you're cleared. So what are the consequences of those who disobey and intermarry? They have to wait until the 3rd and 4th generation. And this is pertaining to the 12 tribes at that time. But for us today, like I've said, the 4th generation. I want to reiterate that. Visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the 3rd and 4th generation. Pardon, I beseech you, the iniquity of this people according to the greatness of your mercy, and as you have forgiven this people from Matzarayim until now. And Yahawah said, I have pardoned according to your word, but truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of Yahawah. Because all those men who have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Matzarayim and in the wilderness, have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice, surely they shall not see the land which I swore unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoked me see it. But my servant Caleb, who is Caleb, because he had another spirit with him, and have followed me fully, him will I bring into the land whereinto he went, and his seed shall possess it. Now, let me just say this. Now, if verse 18 talking about visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation was pertaining to their disobedience and their rebellion, then it meant that the first generation, or the first generation from the wilderness would not have made it into the land. It was their children that made it into the land. Those that came out of Matzarayim originally died in the wilderness. They wandered around for 40 years. It was their children that made it into the promised land. Not even Masha made it into the promised land. Neither did Ahawaran, because Ahawaran, he was the one who built the golden calf. And Masha struck the rock, even though he was instructed to speak to the rock for the water to come out. Now, therefore, if the guilt pertaining to the iniquity of the fathers upon the children had to do with their rebellion, like worshiping other gods and complaining, then their children would not have made it into the kingdom. But it had to do, this particular verse has to do with the genealogy, the people, the lineage. All right? And for our forefathers, like I said, it was third and fourth generation. Not married to Ammonites, not married to Hittites, not married to Moabites, only to Edomites. They were permitted because that's their brother, and Matzarayim because they used to live in harmony when Yahawah was alive. They used to live in harmony amongst the Egyptians. So that was permitted up to the third generation. They were accepted back into the congregation of Yashrael at the third generation. But all other nations were not accepted into the congregation of Yashrael. They were excluded. They were called Gentiles, or they were called foreigners, or they were called strangers. However, if they still wanted to live amongst our people, they had to do what the Most High told us to do. It was not one law for us and another law for them. They had to obey. They had to be circumcised if they wanted to keep Passover or any of the festivals. There was no way around it. If they wanted to live amongst us, they had to do the things that we were commanded to do and stay away from the things that we were told to stay away from. They were not permitted to bring their gods amongst us. Or they were not permitted to worship other gods amongst us, even the gods of their parents, or their parent, who, if it was an Ammonite or a Moabite or even an Edomite, they were not permitted to worship their parents, their pagan parents' gods. And when I say pagan, forgive me, I meant to say Gentile parents' gods. In fact, the parent that was a Gentile, they were not even permitted to bring their gods amongst us. They would have been stoned. Quickly stoned. So you have to look at these verses and be very careful and understand what it is that the Most High is saying. Our brethren are out there teaching all inclusive. It's all inclusive, right? And it has nothing to do with that. Go to the word. The word is very clear. The Abaraham, Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 2. Yahawah Elohayana, our Elohayam, made a covenant with us in Horeb. Yahawah made not this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us, who are all of us here alive this day. Yahawah talked with you face to face in the mount out of the midst of the fire. I stood between Yahawah and you at the time to show you the word of Yahawah, for you were afraid by reason of the fire, and went not up into the mount, saying, I am Yahawah Elohayah, your Elohayam, who brought you out of the land of Matzorayim from the house of bondage. You shall have none other gods before me. You shall not make you any graven image or any likeness that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. You shall not bow down yourself unto them, nor serve them, for I, Yahawah Elohayah, am a jealous Elohayah, visiting the iniquity upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. So we see how this has been repeated to the children of Yashrael. Don't go there. And there were so many of our brethren, both males and females, that they could have chosen from. But you know, when temptation grabs you, if you tell a child not to stick a fork in the socket, that child will want to do it even more. But if you don't say anything, then that thought is not there. But that's temptation. And temptation comes when you are commanded not to do the thing that would destroy you or bring harm to you. This is the work of Satan. And once the Most High He has given us laws and commandments, Satan now, his job is to prevent us from keeping these laws and commandments. Because he knows if we kept them, or if we keep them, we will walk the righteous path and he will have no hold on us. And then we become a danger to his kingdom. Okay. The Abaraham 23 verse 7. You shall not abhor an Edomite, for he is your brother. Edomite is Esau, or Shah, the brother of Yaakov. We know that he married into many different kinds of peoples to the point where he became an Edomite, or his lineage is called the Edomites, for he is your brother. You shall not abhor Matzorayim, which is the Egyptians, because they were a stranger, because you were a stranger in his land. Remember, when the children of Yashrael went into Matzorayim, they did not go in as slaves. They entered in as friends, because Yahawah was a prince. He was a governor in the land. Verse 8. The children that were begotten of them shall enter into the congregation of Yahawah in their third generation. So you see how he made, why he said third and fourth generation. It would be third generation for Edomites and Matzorayim, and fourth generation if they married a Hamite or whomever else. All right? Not whomever else, but within reason, because we know that the Most High destroyed the giants from off the face of the earth. He did not want that seed line in our people. So it's not all of the above or whoever is left. We know that the Amorites are the descendants of the Nephilim. So he wouldn't want us to marry the Edomites. He didn't want us to marry the Moabites, although we know a Moabite by name of Ruth is part of our genealogy. But she's an exception to the rule. She became a part of our genealogy. She married, I believe she married, is it Boaz? Who is part of Dawad's genealogy. But there are always exceptions to the rule, and only the Most High, he makes those exceptions. And we don't know what they are until he declares it. So we need to stay within the safe perimeters that he's given to us. Marry only your own kind. Why would you want to put that stress on yourself and then your poor babies? Why would you do that? So he said, if their children are begotten of them, then they can re-enter into the 12 tribes and be called Yashraal in their third generation. Now we see in plain words how Yahawah felt about children begotten from other nations. It is for this reason why in Abraham's vision that he was told that the fourth generation will be regathered, and in this case there is no third generation. Sorry folks, not my word. This will greatly refine who will be elected to make it through the process, to be found worthy to escape the judgments coming upon this earth. It is for this reason why only a remnant of both the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom will make it to the end, to receive their freedom at the end of the 400 years to live in our land. These 400 years are connected to the 6,000 years and the final Yahawah, which is the 120th Yahawah, talking about Jubilees. We all have been waiting in great anticipation of the closure of these 400 years to render us a free people once again and to live in our land. But we will not see freedom while living under the current regime, which is ruled by the Amorites. They may not look like giants, but they are technically giants in another way. They have the controls, only for a short period of time. It is for this reason why Allah is showing us that the ending of our slavery will come when he regathers his people. The southern kingdom, to bring them to a safe place. We know that is in the kingdom of heaven. And we'll spend a short period of time there when he brings us all back. When he cleanses our land from the filth that is currently there, our land right now is polluted. He's going to send the 2 witnesses to pronounce judgments upon that land and upon the people there. Actually, upon the people living in our land. When the northern kingdom makes it into our land, awaiting the reunion of the southern kingdom, and once the 2 witnesses are finished, the land will be purged, because whomever is left will flee back to their original lands. Yes, they will. They're not going to remain there. So by the time the northern kingdom makes it to our land, the land will be empty and purged and cleansed and ready to receive them with great joy. And then all they're waiting for now is for Hamashiach to come, bringing us with him so that he can reunite us as one people once again, the 12 tribes. When he establishes his son to rule on the earth as king and reuniting the 2 kingdoms of Yashraal, making them one, the reinstatement of Yashraal, meaning the 12 tribes as kings, which means rulers, not kings as in wearing a crown king. We're talking about rulers, leaders, and priests to Hamashiach, who is our high priest forever. And finally, the reestablishment of true worship and the sanctification of his holy temple upon Mount Shalawam, where all peoples of the earth will have to flow there to worship him. And this will begin in the 6,000th year at the ending of the 400 years. And that will be the completion, the ending of our slavery, quote unquote. Well, let's just say this. I know when the southern kingdom is going to be taken up in chariots into the kingdom of heaven, we will not be in slavery anymore. We're under the Most High. The northern kingdom, when they leave in their second exodus, they'll be led by the pillar of fire by night and the pillar of cloud by day. They'll be surrounded by the glory of the Most High. And even when they enter into our land, they will not be under the regime that will be on the earth. But what I'm showing you is that until that regime is completely destroyed, and the reinstatement of the true government of Yahawah is upon this earth, then and only then will the 400 years will be completed. If you understand what I'm saying, it's about freedom, complete freedom, not just for, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. It's complete freedom on the earth. And the destruction of that government, that evil government, that beast system. All right? And this is what he's saying. So don't think that, we have to wait for the 400 years, but we will be delivered. But the conclusion of these 400 years is when all these things that I've just stated comes to pass. That's how you will know it is truly over. The 400 years are completely over. And the way, if you look at part 2, I did a diagram to show you that when Hamashiach was cut off in the 112th Jubilee, which is the 5,600 years, is 400 years from the end. So until he comes back to rule as king, it will not be 400 years yet. Okay? It will not be the completion of the 400 years. So what we're waiting on is for him to come and regather us, to bring us to a place of safety until his government comes, until true worship is reestablished and evil is vanquished. That's what we're waiting on. All these things are due to take place at this 400-year mark, and it will coincide with the 6,000-year age of the earth. This will bring in the 1,000-year reign of Hamashiach as described above. This brings a total of 7,000 years where Satan and his wicked people will be permanently destroyed in the lake of fire. This will usher in the new era, the 8th day, which speaks of new beginnings. We're going to get into the 8th day now. But I just want to clarify again, I reinforce again, because I don't want you to miss this, because we've been falsely taught that the 400 years has to do with just only those that were taken in ships. It's not only about us, the southern kingdom, that were taken in ships. It's about Yashrael in total. And it's about Yashrael coming back from being 2 nations into 1 nation again, being governed by our king, Yahawah or Hamashiach, and living in our land and worshiping him in his temple upon Mount Zion. Okay, let's look at Revelation chapter 21, verse 1. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, Yohanan, who is John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Abaraham out of heaven, prepared as a bride for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of Abaraham is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they will be his people, and Abaraham himself shall be with them, and be their Abaraham. And Abaraham shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow, nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I will make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. So the 8th day is at the completion of the 7,000-year rule on this earth. Everything is completed. All prophecies are completed. Satan and his armies are cast into the lake of fire. The dead are judged. The white throne judgment. Now remember, when Hamashiach comes again on the white horse with his saints, who are the southern kingdom, those that had died in righteousness will also rise. That is the resurrection of life, and will live and reign with him for 1,000 years. Okay? So they're not going to be judged again. Only those that are dead will be judged, the white throne judgment. When I say dead, I mean like perished, condemned. Verse 9. And there came unto me one of the 7 angels, because it's same chapter 21, verse 9 now. And there came unto me one of the 7 angels who had the 7 vials full of the 7 last plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come here, I will show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Yahawah, descending out of heaven from Abaraham. So he's going to make everything new on this 8th day. Okay? The new heavens and the new earth and the new Yahawah will begin a new era, which will be a new beginning called the 8th day. This 8th day will be an everlasting day. There will be no more days after that. It's just one perpetual day. An eternity living in perfect harmony and in covenant, once again with Abaraham. The number 8 is quite significant, as it expresses a turning point, because the new beginning is a turning point, as in a new beginning. It is a number that expresses consecration, purification, and dedication. These expressions of the number 8 prophetically reveal to us how we will be living in the 8th day. So let's look at some scriptures talking about the 8th day. Bara'ashayaf, Genesis chapter 17, verse 9. And Abaraham said unto Abaraham, You shall keep my covenant before you, you and your seed after you, in their generations. Now he's talking about the covenant and the proof of this covenant. Verse 10. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you and your seed after you, meaning generations, eternally after you. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. You shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant between me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you. Again, you see the number 8. Every man child in your generations, he that is born in the house or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of your seed. So even those that were non-Yashrael had to be circumcised for this covenant to take effect. All right. So I'm wondering how many of our brethren today are circumcised, because he said throughout your generations. Now he chose 8 days because the 8th day in a baby, you have a newborn baby, 8 days later, the vitamin K within that child increases. It is at its highest in its bloodstream. This is the way how the Most High made it. He made it so for this reason. So that when the boy children go and get their circumcision, the healing is rapid because of vitamin K. The clotting aspect of vitamin K allows healing to occur even quicker than if it was the 7th day or the 9th day. So that's why he was very specific on the 8th day, because the Most High put that into our bodies, into the bodies of the children that will come out from us, especially the boy children, that when they have to be circumcised, and you do it on the 8th day, then that child will heal faster. All right? A lot faster. Plus, it's the blessing of the Most High to heal that child, because you obeyed and did it on the 8th day. So it's important that we obey the Most High and do everything that he says to do. All that he commanded us to do. It's not old laws. There's no such thing as old laws. There are laws that have been fulfilled that we don't need to do, which is the killing of animals for our sins. But when it comes to keeping covenant with him, he says throughout all eternity. So why is it difficult for our people to understand this? Do you think he's going to come and say, before you jump on this chariot, I need to circumcise you first? You think he's going to do that? Okay, I leave that there. So this 8 here has to do with dedication. All right? Dedication. Because the child is dedicated to the Most High, bringing him under covenant with Yahawah. Shalawam 22 verse 29. You shall not delay to offer the first fruit of your liquors, which is juices, dama'ol, like grape juice, wine. The firstborn of your sons shall you give unto me. We did a study on that called the 144,000 of Yahawah. And we know why he has declared all firstborn sons to be his. Verse 30, likewise shall you do with your oxen and with your sheep. 7 days it shall be with his dam, meaning his mother, drinking the mother's milk. But on the 8th day you shall give it to me. That is also dedication. All right? Leviticus chapter 9 verse 1. And it came to pass on the 8th day that Masha called Ahawaran and his sons and the elders of Yashrael. And he said unto Ahawaran, take you a young calf for a sin offering, and a ram for a burnt offering without blemish, and offer them before Yahawah. And this was for purification and consecration. And the reason why he had to be purified, because Ahawaran became the high priest and his sons became the priests that offered up the offerings on behalf of the children of Yashrael. So in order for them to do it, they first had to be purified and consecrated. Leviticus 14 verse 10. And on the 8th day you shall take 2 he lambs without blemish, and 1 ewe lamb of the first year without blemish, and their 10th deals of fine flour for a meat offering, mingled with oil, and 1 log of oil. And the priest that makes him clean, meaning the man that was had leprosy, shall present the man that is to be made clean and those things before Yahawah at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. So this was an act of purification. And this was done on the 8th day. All right. So 7 days he is set apart, meaning he could not be in the camp because he had leprosy. And the priest will come on the 7th day to declare him clean or unclean, whichever it is. If he's declared clean, then he had to make the sacrifices and present himself before the priest again on the 8th day before Yahawah. All right? And this is all about purification. So on the 8th day, he had to be purified or be declared purified. Leviticus 23 verse 33. And Yahawah spoke unto Masha, saying, Speak unto Habanai, the children of Yashrael, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the feast of tabernacles for 7 days unto Yahawah. And on the first day shall be a holy convocation, shall be a service, an assembly. And you shall do no servile work therein. 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahawah. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you, another assembly, the first day and the 8th day. And you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahawah. It is a solemn assembly, and you shall do no servile work therein. And this is the Feast of Tabernacles, by the way. And it's the only feast where it is celebrated on the first day and the 8th day. And this is all about consecration and dedication. Okay? Ezekiel chapter 43, verse 25. 7 days shall you prepare every day a goat for a sin offering. They shall also prepare a young bullock and a ram out of the flock without blemish. 7 days shall they purge the altar and purify it, and they shall consecrate themselves. And when these days are expired, it shall be that upon the 8th day and so forward, the priest shall make your burnt offerings upon the altar and your peace offerings, and I will accept you, said Yahawah Elohim. So this is about purification and consecration and dedication. All right? There is a divine purpose underlying the word of Elohim. And that goes for his use in numbers. This is the manner in which he speaks to his people who will listen to him. It is for those who have ears to hear and a heart to understand his prophetic language. We're to look ahead to spend eternity with him, walking in the fullness of purification, consecration, and dedication. And this is how we will be living. We will be pure eternally. We will be consecrated, meaning set apart. Because we will be a set apart people. And this is how we are to be living right now. Consecrated. And the word dedicated or dedication, meaning devoted. Zealous for him, for his word, for his command. So when we are dedicated or we're on the dedication, it means that we're devoted to him. And we're going to obey his commandment. And this is how he wants us to live now in anticipation for this eternal 8th day. But if we can't figure it out here, we're not going to be able to figure it out there, because we're not going to make it there. In order to make it there, we got to figure it out here on this earth as it is right now. It is for those who have ears to hear and a heart to understand his prophetic language, because this is how he speaks to us. We are to look ahead to spend eternity with him, walking in the fullness of purification, consecration, and dedication. I wanted to read that again. This is what we're anticipating for our future. This is what holiness is all about. And we will be made holy, just as he is holy. We can even still walk in holiness now, because if we purify ourselves, how can you be purified? Let's look at that for 1 minute. When you live a purified life, that means you stay away from things that will defile you. What defiles you? Eating unclean foods, that would defile you. Worshipping gods, pagan worship, all these things defile you. I know Hamashiach said, it's not what goes in defiles a man, it's what comes out of his heart. So if you have some sort of idol in your heart, you know what is going to come out of you is going to be pagan and religious. So you're defiled. So therefore you cannot be purified. But when you're walking in the word of the Most High, you're walking in his ways and walking out his commandments and obeying him, you can still live a purified life. It may not be perfect the way how you think it should be, but as long as you obey him, that's all he wants. And he'll do the rest. He'll complete your purification. He will complete it. But the responsibility is on our shoulders to determine, well, is this the way how I want to live or not? Do I want to live this way? Do I want to obey his commandments? If you do, he'll meet you there and he'll do the rest. And when you decide to live that way, you have just consecrated yourself, set yourself apart from all other peoples, even those who are your brethren, because you are determined to walk the straight and narrow path. And that brings us to dedication. You have just now devoted yourself to his commandments. 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 5. You also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices, acceptable to Elohim by Yahawah Hamashiach. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who has called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. The whole idea is to stay out of the darkness and remain in his light. A lot of our brethren do not understand what is at stake. And that's why we have all these different doctrines out there. They want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to sit on the fence. They want to have one foot in and one foot out. Because they think that the Most High cannot supply their needs. And you know what? He will not. Because your needs are based on lust. Or I should say their needs are based on lust. And he will not supply those lustful needs of us, our hearts. If your desires to live righteously, he will supply your needs. But a lot of our people are struggling with lust on every level, whether it is women, men, or money. Greed. They're struggling big time. And so they try to find loopholes in the commandments and pick and choose which commandments they want to obey based on the lifestyle that they want to live. But it doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. If you break one, you break them all. And that's because our people, they do not understand what is at stake. We are a royal priesthood. We are a holy people. Why do you think for generations, from the very beginning, that Satan's been wanting to destroy us? A particular seed. He's been wanting to destroy us for generations, and we're still here. We're still here. Why? Because we are a peculiar people. His people cannot understand us because we are peculiar. We don't even understand ourselves. But once we get into the knowledge of the Most High, then we can grasp that knowledge, that understanding of who we are and where we're headed. What is waiting for us? But we would rather throw all that away to grab at straws, to grab at things that will not even sustain us, even in the next little while. Don't get it. You don't know who you are. You claim that you're awakened, but you're not. You're still sleeping. Anyone that loves this world and the things in this world, you're still sleeping. I don't care how successful you are out there, bringing in people and your online ministry, whatever. I don't care. You're still sleeping. You're still sleeping. He wants to bring us out of this darkness and into his marvelous light. And it starts here on the earth. It starts here where we are. And I have written here, and this is where we will be living for all eternity in his marvelous light. This is where he wants us to live. In his marvelous light. Revelation chapter 21, verse 23. And the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon to shine in it. For the glory of Abaraham did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. And the nations of them that are saved shall walk in the light of it. And the nations there, we're not talking about Gentiles, we're talking about the 12 tribes, okay? We're talking about the 12 tribes. The 12 tribes of them who are saved shall walk in the light of it. And the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it. And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. Because he is our light, our eternal light. We need to understand the 400-year prophecy. We're not quite there yet. We're almost there. But our deliverance are not our deliverance to a place of safety is not dependent on the ending of the 400 years, meaning that we will not be regathered until the 400 years are up. No, we'll be regathered before the 400 years are up, because you have to understand what the 400 years are all about. It has to do with us being completely free and living under the new government, the King Hamashiach. And evil is no more. The fourth generation will be the one that will see this happening, that will be living in that day, which is going to happen any day now. And this same fourth generation, and by the way, allow me to say this, that for the 1,000 years, we will multiply again. The fourth generation of the remnant righteous will become a multitude again. And us and our children and our children's children and our children's children's children for the 1,000 years will live to see the 8th day, which will be the new beginning. The removal of those things that were old, the old heavens and the old earth will pass away. And he who said, behold, I make all things new. That is the 8th day, new beginning. So you see how they're all connected to each other. Okay? And I wanted to expand on these 3 items because they're so important to understand. I know we've heard 400 years are up, 400 years are up, and we're still here. How do we know that the historians that wrote these books, the histories of the slaves, are correct? How do we know it's 1618? Are we going to take their word for it? They've lied to us about everything else. So that's why I'm saying, don't hang your hat on the 400 years just yet. Look at the prophetic signs. Look at the events. Because we will know when the 400 years are up, when Hamashiach returns to this earth for his 1,000-year reign. But in the meantime, he's going to protect his people. All right? And with that, I want to bid you Shalawam. That's the ending of this lesson. And hopefully, ending of part 3, no part 4, as far as I can see. I think I've cleared up those 3 items that I thought were very important for you to understand. And I want to say the blessing for Yashraal. Ya Barakak, Yahawah, wa ya Shamarak. May Yahawah bless you and keep you. Ya Yahawah, panayo alayak wa yachanak. May Yahawah cause his face to shine upon you and have favor upon you. Yasha'a Yahawah, panayo alayak wa yasham lak shalawam. May Yahawah lift up his face upon you and give you peace. Shalawam. And with that, I say, Shalawam, Shalawam. All praises to the Most High. Abba Yah.